Hello, and welcome to this streaming live discussion on what's holding you back from starting your own business. I'm David Zahn, the Teacher's Business Mentor, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. What we'll do is I'll cover some of the key reasons that I've come across as to why people in the teaching profession and other professions have stalled in their pursuit of starting their own business. And if you have a question or a comment, certainly share that, and I'll read that as well and make my response to the group at large. So let me start by sharing the results of a recent Harris poll of 2,000 US adults 18 years old or older, all on the American front. This is only Americans that were asked this particular question about starting a business. So I'll share the first fact with you. 61% of Americans have at some point had a business idea. And if you think about it, you probably can relate yourself to being in a particular business as the customer and thinking to yourself, boy, if I ran this place, I would do things differently. I would do it, and you fill in the blank either out loud or inside your own head as to how you could improve that business. Or you might have thought to yourself as you drive through your neighborhood, you know, this town really needs a business like, and then you fill in the blank there as well. Maybe it's a service business or a particular product that is unavailable locally. You think to yourself, that's a gap, that's something that's missing, a new business idea that you perceive would be effective in this particular market. Or maybe you thought to yourself, I have a particular skill, expertise, or knowledge that the market could really harness and leverage. People would want to know more about what I know or would want to purchase what I can produce. Again, a business idea, and you would be among that almost two-thirds of the American population that thinks they could have a business idea percolating inside of them. Which, of course, unfortunately leads to the next fact, which is that an overwhelming majority, 92%, never go further than just that fleeting thought, that idea. And it makes you wonder why, if the idea came to them based on their exposure, experience, or whatever it is that caused that thought to occur to them, why didn't they follow through? And some of the answers that this Harris poll came up with is that 63, almost two-thirds percent, claim funding was the reason. They didn't have enough monetary resources to launch the business. And my perspective on that is they likely have put the cart before the horse. It is more important to first sketch out what exactly is the business idea, how will it impact the customer, how does it make their lives easier, better, safer, more efficient, more effective, and worry about the funding once the idea has been at least vetted somewhat amongst the potential market or the target audience. There are ways to fund the business, and not every business requires tremendous startup costs. You can sometimes do it for reasonably less money and then grow as the business grows. So, two-thirds felt that funding was the reason why they couldn't move forward. And it may have, frankly, been more an incident of shooting themselves in the foot, as they could have started the business and then found ways to expand and use funding at that point to grow. Almost 40% struggled with prioritizing. What is it that I should do first? What's the most essential critical factors in starting the business? And they get overwhelmed. They're confused. They sometimes will go out and they'll spend more time and energy or money on things that maybe are less consequential, like Building a website, for instance. Surely most of us think that's important, but it's far less important than having a clear concept of what the business should provide, how it is differentiated, what are the key factors that make it a worthwhile business in the target market. Some people go out and they'll buy business cards. Again, a nice to have, but certainly not going to move the needle in terms of, are you truly ready to launch your business? So 39% are struggling with, what do I do first? How do I ensure that I'm doing the most critical factors initially and perhaps the less important things secondarily or tertiarily? Moving on with our survey, frankly, a third people just never get started because they're afraid of failing. And certainly, one way to ensure that you don't fail is to never even try. Of course, it's also a guarantee that you're not going to succeed. So, a third of the people in this survey just outright refused to even dip their toe in the water because they feared it wouldn't be a success, which is frankly a self fulfilling prophecy. The survey continued. 29% felt they didn't have access to the right business tools, whether that was technology or the other kinds of material resource tools that might allow them to, in their mind at least, excel in the business. So they were not able to even get to the starting line because they feared that they didn't have the access to the tools that would ensure their success. Curiously, 26% felt that even if they had the access to those tools, they still would likely fail because they were not confident they knew enough on how to use the technology or the tools required to run the business. And here we're thinking and talking about things like invoicing, communicating, whether it be through emails, newsletters, texts with your customer base. It could also be other things like lead generation. Do I know how I'm tracking leads, how I am creating sales funnels so I know who's a prospect, who's a customer, who's perhaps a VIP customer? These are just some of the frequently referenced tools that a business will often use, and a person considering entrepreneurship may be fearful, I don't understand computer technology, software and hardware makes me go into spasms of fear. Well, if you are not even willing to try, of course, you're never going to be able to use the tools correctly. And there are so many tools now that are really easy to use, and there are all kinds of resources to help people to use those tools. 25% just said, I don't have enough time to get into an entrepreneurial business. And in this instance, we all have the same amount of time afforded us. It's really a matter of, what are you going to prioritize as being the things you wish to devote your time to? So, really, said another way, they perceive they have higher priorities than the start of a new business. And perhaps they're right, but it really is hiding to say they didn't have enough time. It really is, I didn't deem it worthy of the time I do have available to me. And lastly, and this one probably stings the most for someone who has launched businesses and been successful as an entrepreneur, the feedback or the anticipation of feedback that people receive when they say, I'm thinking of going into a business. You get those looks. Are you crazy? Oh, it'll never work. Oh, someone tried that previously and it didn't happen for them. Why do you think it would happen for you? Or you're just a fill in the blank. You could never be a fill in the other blank. And yes, you're going to get a lot of immediate pushback when you tell friends, family, colleagues, peers, coworkers that you're thinking of starting a business. And some of that, frankly, is envy. They wish they had the courage themselves to do it. Some of it may be they have a very limited view of the ways people can make a living and how they can generate or drive revenue. And so they respond from really a position of unknowing, and they wish to foist that upon you. So these are a lot of the things that you'll hear when you start talking to people about starting a business and why they are perhaps tentative, reticent, fearful to do so. And I'd love to hear from some of you. What are some of the reasons that you're thinking of starting a business but have yet to dip your toe into the waters? So, one comment that's come in: I'm eager to transition out of my current job, but I'm not really certain what job, what career would be appropriate. Well, what I would suggest then is to use something called the ikigai method. And I know it sounds like it's something you would never want to be a part of, ikigai, but in fact, this is a Japanese concept that looks at what is it you're good at, what is it you are passionate about. And sometimes those are not one and the same. Then you look at the third thing, which is what does the market need or require or want? And the fourth thing is there capability for you to receive the appropriate compensation, whether it's monetary or other? Where is the reward for you in pursuing this? Is that a high enough or sufficient motivation for you to participate in this new venture, whatever it may be? So, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? Those have to be aligned. What does the market need? Because if the market doesn't have a requirement or a need or a want for what it is that you're passionate and good at, there's not really going to be a strong business there. And then the last point is, can you find enough compensation of one kind or another? Typically, we think in terms of monetary, but it doesn't have to be. Can you be compensated at a level that's worth the energy and effort you're going to put into it? I can work with any and all of you to refine your own business ideas and help you to become the entrepreneur that we know is just bubbling up inside of you. I look forward to working with you and hope we can do so shortly. You can reach me either through the Facebook group or by going to my website, okaynowwhat.biz. And that's spelled OKAYNOWWHAT.biz. Look forward to connecting with you and hope to join you on your journey to entrepreneurial success. Thanks for joining me on this call, and I look forward to doing it again real soon.